Hi, this is Eric with Urban Code. A question that we get every couple months is, how do I change my builder deployment process based on the contents of some file that's out on the file system, whether it's build time, deployment time, it's part of my project, it's in source control, or it's just sitting out on some server and it tells me about that server. And so one of the most common ways this shows up is with a properties file. And so what I want to look at is, how do I bring the contents of a properties file into Antil in a way that it could then act on that? So what we need to do is turn these things here into properties. And so what I've done is I've made a new plugin that slurps these properties in and brings them into a build life. So here's my little example properties file with this equals that, and some properties are empty, and all that good stuff. If we get rid of that, we can see in the plugin sections of Antil Pro, I've got a new plugin called PropertyLoader that I've created. These end up being just little zip files that you guys can download. And there's one step here called load properties from file. I've created a project that uses this load properties from file. So if I look at my property test job, we can look at it. So we're just loading these properties. Presumably we do something with them afterwards, but that's more vanilla Antil. So we've got a location where the property file is, so demo.properties, and I'm saying this is an absolute path out to this file. If it's in your workspace, if you're pulling it out from source control, or it's deployed along with your project, then you'll probably leave that unchecked. You can either assign these properties to the build life or the job, and I'm going to start with the build life for now. Let's go ahead and see what happens when we run this and how this all fits in. So we'll come back out to the dashboard, into our project. And I'm just going to go ahead and kick off this build. That ran rather quickly. We can see that we have this property test job ran, and now all of our properties show up as build life properties. And that's pretty much all this job did, is it brought those in, and don't even think I bothered with much logging here. Basically just see that this step was run and we uploaded the property data. Pretty straightforward. Little information about that. We saw earlier that, sorry for the misclick, that we could choose either build life or job scoping for the properties. If they're build life, they show up here and they're available to both the process that kicks them off, in this case our little mock build, as well as any subsequent processes that run. If I was to run a deployment process and I need to check the value of some property, it would be available to me just like any other property in the system is. The alternative would be to do a job scoping, in which case the properties would show up here and they would only be available to this particular job. That's pretty much the plugin. If you want to look at the code behind it, it's relatively straightforward. We have a lot of very standard boilerplate. This is all copy and paste stuff from other plugins. This is why I tend to use Groovy, because all the boilerplate is already here. This little utility to parse out all the properties from the step, also again very standard. This is where we start getting specific to our application. So we're pulling down the properties specific to this plugin. So the file path to look up from, is it absolute? Then we actually calculate a file path. Did we choose job or did we choose build life? Pretty straightforward. And then this is all there really is to the core of the plugin. We're going to create a properties object in Groovy. We're going to load those values from a file. That was nice and free for us. Translate that into an XML document in 2 lines. That's beautiful. Then we basically just upload it using the command line Antil Pro tool. So that's really all there is to it. Very interested in your feedback. Is this going to be helpful? How should we do this? Should we work with INI files, list of property files? You name it, I'm curious how you guys need to pull in data from your systems, and happy to help out here. Hope that helps. Thanks, everybody.